Hello and welcome to Signal Lantern, your beacon of freedom in the Northeast. I'm your host, Jason, and here with me is a very special guest, Remy. How are you?
I am doing spectacular this morning.
Oh, how wonderful. So, oh, this is going to be weird. Uh, we are, for those who are on the podcast, we are currently sharing a microphone going back and forth between one another. So that's going to be an interesting little thing that we're doing here. Remy, it's going to meat and taters. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I am a 24-year-old college dropout. I just spent the summer working in Virginia, door knocking for Republican candidates, principled Christian Republican candidates. Uh, Halfway through that, I took a break to go on a mission trip to Peru. My family just moved to Arlington, Virginia, for my dad's training in Washington, D.C. He's going to become a diplomat, and my family is going to move to Kyrgyzstan.
A country whose name I cannot pronounce correctly.
Yes, that is correct. I've been trying to correct him about it all along. What else? I was raised atheist, but I'm converting to the Catholic faith. As far as my political beliefs, they've shifted a lot over the years. I've been just about everywhere on the political spectrum, and we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
It's funny because the man looks like he would be, a progressive twink, but he's actually a base trad cath. So that's kind of funny. Anyways, so Remy is the co-founder, my right-hand man, so to speak. He has been incredibly useful, incredibly helpful in starting the initial core inaugural event and then laying a lot of the groundwork here. He did our articles of incorporation for us. And so he's been an extremely great help. Um, Obviously, we're not here to talk about national races. We're all here to talk about New England. But so I suppose I'll say, how did it feel to get your ass brutally kicked in Virginia? And what did you learn in order, like, that you're going to bring the mass?
I suppose what I learned most from, well, specifically from losing every race in Virginia is don't become emotionally involved in any particular race. I don't feel too insecure about the fact that we lost because I was told nothing could have prevented it, and my bosses actually praised my work ethic and said that if all the candidates we were supporting had my work ethic, we probably wouldn't have lost. Um, Another thing I learned from doing door knocking in Virginia this summer is a a lesson about wearing myself too thin and burnout because I my car actually got flooded early on in the summer, so I was riding my bike at least about an hour and a half every day, in addition to the 8 to 10 hours of door knocking. By the end of the season, it was very exhausting. So a little bit of a lesson I learned there about um, not pushing myself too hard at the start of a campaign season and just being too worn out at the end.
Now, what does that look like for you as a co-founder? You and I are both we're trying to lay the right foundations for core. So, what type of things, when we're building this organization, are things that you would like to see, or things that you wouldn't like to see, both for you, but also for the people we eventually end up employing?
I guess having the experience of working with Young Americans for Liberty and Make Liberty Win, and then having the experience this year of working for Family Foundation of Virginia. I've had the I've had the experience of a company that does not treat their employees well and kind of treats them like garbage, and I've had the experience of actually being treated well. So obviously, I want to make sure that we treat our people well. We treat them with respect and trust, and that will mean to some extent good vetting when we're looking for volunteers and eventually, hopefully, full-time employees, to make sure they're people that we can trust and respect. But I think that's much better than just hiring anybody, treating them like garbage, and dropping them at the drop of a hat.
I think that's a good segue to talk about. I've mentioned this with Matt that our organization is necessarily different than the other ones in the sense that it is only focused on New England. And we've gotten Matt's take, we've gotten my take, but I'd like your thoughts about that, what you're looking forward to, what you think separates us, makes us different, and what will determine our success or failure.
Well, maybe it's just the masochist in me, but I'm looking forward to the uphill battle. And
Bro, bro. All right, carry on.
and also the smugness that will come when we finally make it big and we turn Massachusetts into a constitutional conservative state again, and everybody will be in disbelief. So that's an exciting prospect. I guess it's interesting for me because Jason and Matt have lived in New England their entire lives, so this is home for them. Um, my family, ever since I was young, and I've continued to do this as a young adult, I've traveled around so much. No particular place has ever really fully felt like home to me, as far as I can remember. So I wish I could say I have the same kind of patriotic attachment to New England. I can't say I necessarily have that, but it is, of course, a region of the country that has been kind of neglected, especially by national organizations, and
Keep
has
going.
just been a laughing stock. And I wanna turn the tables. I want to be the ones laughing at them when we.
So, revenge. Jeez. Okay. That's. I actually didn't know that about you, Remy. I didn't know that you moved around a lot. So that's interesting. One of the things that I think is important is, I said this in the first episode, that I'm sick of seeing people who lay down their roots here in New England just up and leave in despair. But also, similar to what Eric Brakey is doing in New Hampshire, I would encourage people to also either come back who've moved away, or people to come here and make this a place that people want to live once again. How do we do that?
um, I mean, New England already has natural strengths, and I think you've mentioned some of them in the last episode with Matt as far as culture. I also love the um beautiful natural resources. Western Mass, New Hampshire, Vermont, stunning mountains, freshwater lakes and rivers, small towns. So I do like New England just because I can't quite say that I have really the sense that this is home in the way that that Jason and Matt do. I do like New England. I like some things about the culture. I like the natural resources. And of course, I've lived here for the last on and off for the last 8 years. So I probably do have more roots here than anywhere else as far as the friends I've made and the places and communities I'm familiar with. So while I did work out of state this summer, and I will probably travel more in the future because I enjoy it. I can see myself mostly putting roots down here.
And what you don't have in inherent patriotism and, you know, blind loyalty to this country, you have in work ethic and resolve. I think you're similarly in mind of, I don't really care how bad things get. I'm just going to keep chugging away, and I think that that sort of philosophy is needed. The endurance to help people uh, do things even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. Um, so let's pivot a little bit, talk about what are the issues, the political issues that are most important to you. For Matt, It's more like Second Amendment. For me, I'm First Amendment guy. Yap about farm subsidies for an hour. I don't know.
Well, you asked me what political issues are most important to me. I think you opened a can of worms because
I have.
I am an honest person, so I will say number one issue for me is abortion. I am pro-life. I think that's non-negotiable. I think that unborn children, preborn children, are um, human persons with and their life has just as much value as you or I. So that's a non-negotiable for me. Um that's obviously very important to me. I think we should end legal abortion in um every state. Another big issue for me that's controversial. It has kind of recently become an issue for me as certain things have come to light, but I think we as a country should not be supporting Israel. I
Huh.
think I think
Interesting. I've never heard that one from you before, actually.
Well, I think the state of Israel has done atrocious things recently, and they also have an unbelievable amount of influence in many Western governments, including the United States. I don't know how many of you know about APAC, AIPAC, which I
They're
think
turning frogs. You're starting to sound like Alex Jones here, man.
the American Israeli PAC. Well, about 80 to 90% of our representatives in Congress have received large sums of money from this PAC, which supports Israeli interests, and they vote accordingly. And I think it's concerning that another country has so much influence on our government and we send them billions upon billions of dollars. Think about how much good we could do with that money if it were instead spent on American citizens. So that would be number two. Third issue for me, which Jason alluded to, would be farm subsidies. I
All right.
think
This is the one time you get to talk about it. Make it count.
I think big ag is terrible. I think it's their practices are bad for the environment, bad for the economy, bad for small farmers, bad for consumers, um, bad for Americans' public health. And the fact that the government subsidizes these agricultural mega corporations only makes it worse. And most Americans don't even realize how much these agricultural megacorporations are subsidized and how not only useless but actively counterproductive many of these subsidies are. Some of these corporations are getting subsidies in two or three different ways, and they're being paid sometimes specifically to not use certain parts of their land. So they're being paid to produce less, and in other cases, they're being paid to overproduce, even when much of that product ends up going to waste because there's no demand for it and it's not something that can be stored. We already have thousands of pounds worth of cheese stored in underground.
Yeah, I know about
you
the government cheese.
Yeah. So for the dairy industry is a good example of an industry that's paid to overproduce. We already have thousands of pounds of reserves of cheese in these secret underground government places.
And here's the thing about the cheese thing is like it sounds crazy, but like you can look it up. That's actually a well documented phenomena, and it sounds crazy, but yeah.
Yes,
I'll let you finish, and then I have something else.
this is not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, this is documented fact. So, a few routes I want to take. First off, as you can see here, Remy is our unapologetic, just goes out, isn't afraid to be controversial. Yesterday, we were at a Christmas party doing a Bible study because Christ our Savior is there's no Christmas without Christ, and the person, my boy JC, not Jesus Christ, different guy, he was up there leading a Bible study, and he had said, what are some evils of the world? And people were saying like war and like death, and I was like abortion, and then I just like glanced over to him, and he's like abortion, and he just said it out loud. So, um, on the second point you made regarding Israel, um, I think you bring up an important instinct here of uh, why are we focusing so much on foreign countries, on things that aren't related to the United States? And so we at Core even go further than that of like a lot of people get so involved with the zeitgeist of like Trump versus Biden and that sort of thing, whereas we're not endorsing political candidates at a national level. If we're having a representative that runs in a district in Massachusetts, that's a different story. But we're focused mainly on state level. And so, just like how our government should be focused on domestic issues, we're focused on even more domestic local issues. So, talk to me about that and what your vision is of less about your personal beliefs and more about, okay, organizationally, what are we going to focus on?
I mean, there's a lot of there are a lot of places we can focus on in Massachusetts, just as far as local policy. For those living in Massachusetts listening, I'm sure you know about some absurd law in your county or your small town. For those outside of New England, let me give a few examples of crazy restrictive laws in Massachusetts that are maybe a little less controversial that we can get more widespread agreement on. For instance, in Gardner County, you need a license to have a dog. In Northampton, Massachusetts, you need a license to play music on the street. And in Clinton, Massachusetts, you need, I believe you need a license to have backyard chickens, but also the corrupt Department of Public Health in that town makes it nearly impossible for anyone to actually legally have chickens in their backyards. And if you do, you better believe they're going to come after you and fine you and give you a hard time.
A few other things I know. It's illegal to have a goatee unless you have a goatee license. I forgot which town that's in, but it's one of the towns. I also know that isn't it illegal to play violin on the Boston Common? However, it is legal to do a consensual duel if it's a Sunday and the Boston the governor is present, or something like that. There's a bunch of absurd blue laws, as they call them, laws that were passed for some valid reason a long time ago in the 1800s, and they're still on the books. No one's repealed them, but no one enforces them either.
Yeah, so with those laws, those are kind of obsolete. Like you mentioned, nobody enforces them. The ones I mentioned are actively enforced. Like if you're
What?
yeah,
Actively enforced?
the laws I mentioned are actively enforced. You actually have to pay $25 to get a license to play music on the street in Northampton. So if you're a poor traveling musician and you go to Northampton and you don't know that law, you could be fined. And I personally have a friend who has dealt with the
Bring him on the podcast.
uh well, she's a little bit cuckoo, but
Like you?
no, a bit crazier.
Is that possible though?
Yeah, I mean, bring her on the podcast if you want her to go on rants about how um aliens, how three presidents met aliens, and um how Antarctica is a spaceship, and how chickens have magic powers, and
I don't know. Chickens might have magic powers though. If you've ever listened to Timcast, his whole thing about chickens. Um all right. We've talked about national issues, we've kind of talked about local issues. You've mentioned about Massachusetts, about how it's your home. And Cora's, I always mention Massachusetts because it's my home, but we are the entirety of New England. Eventually, we're going to get there. So tell me about what you think makes New England different, a little bit more about how national organizations have dropped the ball, and how we're gonna do it better.
Yeah, so what makes New England unique? I already mentioned one thing that I really love is the natural resources. Um,
What do you mean by that?
the geography.
Like mountains?
Yeah, mountains, freshwater rivers, freshwater lakes. I love that. Um, I also I like well, what my dream college is here in Massachusetts, Thomas Aquinas College in Northfield, Massachusetts.
Saint Thomas Aquinas.
St. Thomas Aquinas, but the college is just called Thomas Aquinas College.
Oh.
Yes. Um, what else do I love about Massachusetts and New England? Like I mentioned, most of my friends are here. Um, um, I like Boston. I think it's a really nice city. That's a controversial take. Apparently, I talked to a lot of people who are like, "Ugh, Boston." I don't even mind driving in Boston. I like.
This man doesn't mind driving in Harlem. He is not like us. He is insane. He likes traffic. Mr. Masochist, you.
I deny the allegations. I cannot stand driving in Connecticut. Anywhere in Connecticut, except Southern Connecticut. Southern Connecticut is nice. Driving in Northern Connecticut drives me crazy, but Boston is okay.
Okay, so we've had 2 episodes where people have made fun of Connecticut. This is an open invitation to anyone from Connecticut. If you wish to defend your state, you have an open, just, yeah, keepers of the revolution at gmail.com. Send us an invite. I've got one person in mind. Defend the allegations. I know it's sort of a thing in New England that Connecticut's like no one likes Connecticut. I feel like if anyone, okay, hot take here. I think if anyone is worthy of being ruthlessly torn apart by the rest of New England, it's going to be Rhode Island. I mean, they're tiny, just like you. There's a reason I tear you apart. There should be a reason why we tear Rhode Island apart. I don't know why more people don't make fun of Rhode Island. This is just me deliberately being controversial. Watch this be the thing that tanks our organization. Just like, he hates Rhode Island.
Rhode Island is just concrete and steel.
No comment. What sort of things are what you look forward to?
With core specifically?
Yeah.
I look forward to getting more involved in what my home place, as much as I can say that about any place. I feel a little bit guilty about having left to go work in Virginia that while instead of the Massachusetts elections.
Someone needed to do it.
um so yeah, I look forward to getting more involved in politics locally, which I had sort of been on college campuses, but not really super involved in state politics and localities. So I look forward to actually my getting to know the politics where I live now that I've had a good deal of experience working out of state. Um, like I already mentioned, I'm looking forward to the uphill battle, and I'm looking forward to being able to turn the tables and laugh at everyone else once we succeed.
And are there any sort of parting words? I feel like we just skipped over. Like, I had one question, like, Remy, tell me about yourself. You're like, I'm a 24-year-old college dropout. And I'm like, all right, next question. Anything about yourself you want to share? And then any parting words you have?
Let's see, what else can I share about myself? I love rock climbing and skiing and other adventure sports. I am a poet and a songwriter. I love to write poems and songs. I love to cook, love to garden. Um, I am super into philosophy and theology in addition to politics, and I'm this close to converting this man to Catholicism.
He's still got a way to go. Speaking of that, there's been considerable conversation. This is a can of worms here. There's been considerable conversation, I've found, that politics is inherently a spiritual thing, that it's a manifestation of what we believe. And for the people in the progressive side, it's almost like their politics has become their form of religion, where people on the conservative side, people in the middle, sometimes they have other things, other church or community like the Boy Scouts, to be able to fulfill them, where they don't feel like they have to get involved in politics. They don't want to. So, talk a little bit about that and sort of the spiritual war that's going on.
Yeah, I don't think that you can really separate religion from politics. I think that's such a trope in our society that doesn't make much sense when people say it, because if you genuinely believe in uh the teachings of the Christian faith, for example, it's really takes a lot of cognitive dissonance to be able to say, as I've heard from so many people, for instance, "Oh, I think abortion is immoral and I oppose it personally, but I don't think that we should regulate it." And it's I guess it's this weird thing where religion has people have been bullied into internalizing their religion, like, "Oh, uh this isn't something that's objective truth about all of society, about all of reality. This is just something that I believe." But I say it's cognitive dissonance because if you really believe it, then you believe that it's true in all places at all times. And I think that goes for any belief system. Obviously, fundamental, uh,
Core.
our core philosophical beliefs, whether people believe in God and religion or um, some secular philosophy, uh,
Marxism and communism.
yeah. Regardless, whatever you fundamentally believe is necessarily going to influence the way you vote. You can't separate politics from morality. You can't separate politics from philosophy, and you can't separate politics from religion.
Hmm. That's really fair. But I will say one thing is what in terms of separation is we can separate core as an organization from particular specific issues. What I mean by this is that we're a coalition organization. We want to be a coalition of coalitions. And there's Remy with his classic giant water bottle. And the thing that I keep coming to is there are so many organizations that are specifically about one issue. There's like Students for Life. There's a Gun Owners Action League. There's uh, Massachusetts Fiscal Institute, or what's it, Association. I don't know the actual acronym. And so there are a myriad of various organizations that focus on one issue or another issue. And I think that's the beauty of what we're trying to undertake is we're not niche and just focusing on like abortion or just focusing on Second Amendment. We're kind of a catch-all of we want people with good heads on their shoulders to be able to be elected to office and to enact the will of their constituents in a level-headed, good way, which hasn't happened for between 50 and 100 years.
Yeah, so I that is one thing that I think is cool and necessary about what we're doing with Core. I think it's great that all these specialized organizations exist and they have the really long picture view of that one issue in mind. I think about how pro-life organizations fought for like 50 years just to overturn Roe v. Wade. But I think what's great about Core, we can work with different other groups and focus on different issues depending on what we can make the most headway with at any given time. We say it's an uphill battle, but the nice thing about Core is rather than taking a straight path up the hill or up the mountain, we can go left or right depending
And
on
enjoy the view.
yeah, enjoy the view, but depending on which path is um less steep, depending on where we'll make the most progress at any given point in time and in any given particular locality, since we're focusing mainly on those local elections.
Yeah, and there are many issues that are nonpartisan, many issues that I feel like we all ought to be able to get behind, like free speech, for example. That ought not to be something that is controversial, and yet you find people who are trying to censor you, and really it's an aspect of control and totalitarianism. I think that those are a lot of the issues that we're trying to focus on. We say nonpartisan in the broadest sense. Uh, if it follows the Constitution of the United States as the founders intended it, then that's kind of what we're going for.
Yeah, and another good example of those issues we can hopefully mostly agree on are those things I already mentioned, just tyrannical local bureaucrats. Tyrannical local bureaucrats saying, hey, you can't have a dog unless you hand us money. Hey, you can't have chickens unless you hand us money. You can't even entertain people on the streets with a guitar or a ukulele unless you hand us money. So I think we can make a I think we can make a lot of progress in those areas just because we can get practically everyone on board. Hopefully, maybe a few Karens will be holdouts.
There's always one or two Karens.
No, I think people should have to pay to own a dog. Yeah, I'm sure there will be a few holdouts, but those are issues that I think we can get almost everyone on board with. So obviously, we as an organization will take firm stances on some issues that are a little bit more controversial, like Second Amendment. Um, but what's great is, well, we'll make headway in those realms when we can, and when there's a little bit of a roadblock, we will make headway in more popular issues and then come back. And maybe with our grown coalition, we can get more people on board with the more controversial issues.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would.
Tell me, Remy, who inspires you?
I'm inspired by St. John Chrysostom, St. Augustine, St. Gemma Galgani, St. Rafka, St. Maria Goretti, our Lord Jesus Christ, of course.
Keep going.
My dad inspires me. He may be an atheist, and we may have a troubled relationship sometimes, but he has a lot of passion, and he genuinely inspires me. I surround myself with people who inspire me. My friends, like my best friend Jason here, inspire me. Um, my good friend Eliana, she inspires me with her work ethic and dedication to the cause of improving things in our country. Um, you want me to keep going?
Who inspires you is a very important question. Who inspires me shall not be named. And we'll get a podcast episode on that far in the future when Matt finally budges and lets me talk about the guy. Anyways, do you have any, this time for real, parting words?
Parting words. I guess my parting words would be: don't be complacent, don't be silent. There's something in your community that sucks, and don't let yourself believe that you can't do anything about it, because all it takes is 3 crazy mofos to change the world.
Right, and don't be afraid to be a little controversial. If this tiny guy can do it, then anyone else can. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Signal Lantern. If you enjoyed what we're doing, please be sure to like, subscribe on YouTube, or give us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Music, all the podcast platforms. And most importantly, word of mouth, sharing it with your friends. Be sure to spread the signal. I'm Jason Brewster. Thank you very much.